Hello there, and welcome back to the Codex. So I just got off of a 20-hour stream grinding out the new Isle Weaver content along with trying out a bunch of new stuff. All the new augments, playing the event, Araxia, etc. So I'm very tired right now, but I wanted to get a video out for you guys showcasing just some tips about the new Operation 8-Claw event. I'm going to show you the store to show you why you should actually run the event, and also go over, like I said, just some quick tips about how to make it much easier for you, because I have heard some complaints about this event given how the Duviri system works. First of all, let's go over where you actually go for this event. It's in Duviri. Now, this is going to be a permanent new game mode, but right now we have the event version of it called Operation 8-Claw. The Triumph of Dust node, however, is going to be permanent once this is over, just so you guys know. So you'll still be able to grind out Araxia from there and whatnot. But for the next 20 days, at least as of the time of recording this, we have access to the event version, which has an extra event store, of course, per usual. Now, where you access that primarily is by going to your Dorma zone on the Zeraman. So let's go ahead and head over there. Once you load into the Zeraman, you could go ahead and walk into your room if you want, but they did add the quick wheel here, thankfully. And right now, one of the quick wheel teleport options is Dominus Thrax, who is currently, like I said, in your room here. So you can go here. There's two different stores, because there's two main resources that you get from the event. You get Scuttler Husks, which is essentially the pity system currency that you will get plenty of. I've already had enough to buy basically everything here twice, essentially. I already have all of this. I'm currently building my second Araxia, and I have all the weapons building, and I purchased all the scenes, and I still have 102 Scuttler Husks left. This is not used to craft anything. This is purely the pity system currency. So you can feel free to spend this immediately, because you're not going to need it to actually craft this stuff. The resource you're going to need for that is going to be primarily, along with the regular resources, the Temporal Dust, which is another new resource that we'll talk about later here. Now, the main event store is the Return Dominus Aureus. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Who knows? Open up this store, and along with all the new cosmetics, which I've already bought out and whatnot, like this cool Parazon skin, these Invictus Signas are not available yet. We also have these emblems. A bunch of other stuff that's been from previous events as well, like these clan sigils, the Creo Signa, the Cellulacera and the Basmu, all the stuff that you could buy. An interesting thing is the Pathos clamps. You're allowed to buy up to 100 of these from this store, which I think is like 100. It's like 360 of the Dominus Aureus to buy all those. I've already bought them all. So you can only get 100 clamps from the store, but the event itself, the game mode itself, gives you a permanent unlimited amount of clamps from completing it. Just like the regular Duviri runs, it gives you 10 on regular path, 15 on the steel path, and we'll talk about that more later as well. Now, the main thing you're probably going to want from here is the Arcanes. Now, unlike the last Jade event where you could buy 2 of each Arcane max rank sets, which was 42 in total, you can only buy 1 max rank set of each of these, so that's 21 max of each. Now, keep in mind when you're buying these, it's going to say, like the reason this says 5, for example, is because you're not buying singles, you're buying, in this case, sets of 3. So that's why it's saying 5 right there. It would actually be more than that, but I don't have enough currency, obviously. Then Avengers, for example, or any of these gold Arcanes, you'll only be buying 3 because it's sets of 7. So 3 sets of 7 is the full 21, so on, so on. I'm not sure why they decided to do it this way instead of being able to buy it one at a time, but yeah, they did it in this interesting set pattern. So you need less than 500 Aureus to buy every single Arcane here. It's actually crazy how fast it is to get this, because on the regular path, you get about an average of 20 Aureus per run. And on Steel Path, it's an average of about 24. So yeah, it's not hard at all to grind on this event once you see how fast you can do it. Now let's talk about the ways that you'll actually want to run the event. So since this is essentially a regular Duviri mission, in terms of the sense that you're not able to choose the loadout that you bring here, but instead it's random, which you can see here. For example, right now I have Caliban, Nova, Stynax, Excalibur, Umbra, Necros Prime, and then all these random primary, secondaries, and melees. That means that we can't necessarily just find the most meta loadout and bring that constantly. So if you're going to play this event in the quote-unquote intended way and just go random loadouts over and over again, especially if you are a newer player with not a very well built out arsenal, if you don't have a lot of things that are, you know, well modded and a wide array of options available to you, you're probably going to want to play this on the regular path, not steel path, because the enemies are very beefed up especially the two main bosses. You fight the Oraxia boss, like you essentially fight the new Warframe as a mini boss, and you also fight a interesting version of the Fragmented one, which has much more heavily juiced up damage attenuation on the Steel Path version compared to the regular version. So for a lot of you guys, you're probably going to want to do this on the regular path. Now, if you are a player that has a very well built out arsenal, and you can make almost any frame and almost any weapon that you roll here work, then maybe you could consider Steel Path. And you could definitely consider Steel Path if you want to do this in the most efficient way, which is what I call abort farming. So the way that this works is the same way that essentially regular DV bounties work, and if you complete the boss fight here, the Fragmented one, and then instead of extracting through the portal, you instead abort the mission, you will keep all of your rewards from the entire mission, but you won't rotate your loadout. This loadout only rotates either when the cycle ends, which in this case, for example, there's an hour and 39 minutes left, which would force a reroll, or it rerolls when you actually complete a mission. So if you abort, you would keep these options. So say that I went to go run this mission, for example, with Caliban and the Bursted Prime, which the Bursted Prime is actually a great weapon for this, and then I aborted after the boss fight, I would still have Caliban and the Bursted Prime, and I could keep running that over and over and over again for the next hour and a half. So what you could do is you could go to the circuit, keep doing one round of the circuit and extracting over and over again until you get a really good Warframe. One Warframe in particular that I really like for this mission is Titania. Titania with the classic Zada's Whisper, Blast, Innervate build absolutely shreds the boss. Now, this isn't a Titania video, but I will show you the build real quick here, or at least a general version of the build that I recommend. It's basically just make sure you have Razor Wing Blitz on. Maybe you're probably going to use Precision Intensify, and then you can, if you want to use some Arcanes that affect secondary weapons, for example, since that affects Dex Pixie, you can do that. The main important thing, though, is run Zada's Whisper, and then on the Dex Pixie, run Blast. In this case, I'm running Blast Toxin because I'm also using Archon Continuity, so this also triggers Corrosive. That doesn't really matter, though. Primarily, make sure you have Blast on, make sure you have Zada's Whisper, and make sure you have Innervate, because there's really hilarious, massive damage synergies between those three factors. Here's a quick gameplay clip from that 20-hour stream showing you how hilarious Titania is, especially on the regular path version of the mission. All right, so here is the Fragmented boss, and as you can see, Titania basically just completely shreds it. This is another reason why there's really no reason to do this on Steel Path. And there we go. There's the first phase. And especially if you're using Arcane Pistolier, if you can trigger that headshot buff for the infinite ammo on one of the extra enemies, you can completely burst down the boss. It's insane. Let's see if I can trigger that. Oh, yeah, I just did. And there goes the boss. That's why I use Titania. So as you can see there, you can completely obliterate the boss with Titania. Now, it's also a very good build for the Steel Path version. I did say in the video that there's no reason to do the Steel Path version. Now, obviously, that's not quite true. If you want to go through the work, like you and your whole squad, of re-rolling your loadouts in the circuit until everybody on your team has a super cracked loadout, like something like Titania, for example, and then you keep running that over and over for the entire cycle, in that case, you might find some benefit from doing the Steel Path version to get the, the slightly, if you can do it fast enough, potentially accelerated Aureus rate, because again, it is an average of 20 versus 24, so you don't actually get that much more permission, but you will get the original, or the extra 5 Steel Essence, for example. So if you end up doing, 20, 30, 40, 50 runs, something like that can add up and be a decent little chunk of reward on the side there. So that's up to you guys. However you want to do it, totally up to you. Highly, highly recommend doing the abort farming method, though, to keep your good loadouts. It makes this event much less annoying to run, much more manageable, much quicker. It's actually insane how fast you can farm Arcanes in this. You can get an Energize in under 2 hours if you're going slow, even. It's fantastic. Grab the Arcanes that you need, and if you already have all of the Arcanes, then grab them anyway and sell them later. Easy money. Whoops, forgot to talk about the Temporal Dust resource that I said that I would mention later. So the Temporal Dust resource simply drops from basically any crate that you break open while you are in the Operation A Claw mission. So just make sure that you actually break open those crates. Yes, You heard me right. You have to go back to acting like a brand new player in Warframe and pretend that crates are actually useful, because right now, they actually are. Now, I will note, though, that this amount of temporal dust that I currently have, for example, is, I'm pretty sure, more than twice the amount that you need to craft every single thing that takes it. And I've already crafted all of those things. So I've already crafted them, and I have, again, more than double the amount that you would need to craft all of them again. So this racks up really easily if you just occasionally break open the containers, especially after you leave the Oraxia fight. That hallway right after that fight has a ton of containers in it. Make sure to break those all open. Just do, you know, a melee slam or something and bust them all. And there's one time I got like 200 just in that hallway, especially if you get the decree of double resources from crates that you break open. It's very easy to farm out. So just want to throw that in the end here. Now you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.